Chapter 20. The Vanished. The Crystal Empire. Each time seeing it, it never got any less breathtaking. Twilight looked towards her friends, all fresh out of the station and each looking at the Empire with the same awe-filled expression. Except for Rarity. She looked even more like Pinkie Pie when presented with the world's best chocolate cake. That is to say, about to burst.
How delightful,
the fashionista declared.
Oh, I do hope we get given the same rooms as last time. The palace staff are simply a wonder to be around.
Harry Pony sure seems to be in good spirits, Applejack noted, seeing the cheerful expressions on the various crystal ponies passing by. Seems like a fun day, all things considered.
Well, they are hosting the Equestria Games really soon,
Rainbow pointed out.
I mean, look, the stadium's almost finished.
Sure enough, the new stadium built for the big sporting event was rapidly approaching the end of its construction. It looked like they were just finishing one of the far walls, ponies being seen hard at work even from where they were standing. The new stadium absolutely dwarfed the original one built before Sombra's rise to power, being easily one of the grandest in Equestria itself, which was fitting, seeing as the event was shaping up to be the largest one yet. Every city and large town was sending a team of their own, and on top of that, even the Griffins were sending a team. If this event was successful, maybe other nations would start partaking in the tradition. Such pointless frivolities. Twilight pouted. Sombra was such a killjoy. But she doubted even he could deny the feat of modern engineering. It was as functional as it was grand, capable of seating thousands upon thousands. It was large enough for the vast population of the city to all sit and then some, useful for all the outside visitors they were going to get that time. And who knew how many would listen in on the radio broadcasts? Memories of the event would be magically cataloged, and it was probably going to be the first Equestria Games recorded on film cameras for conversion into a silent movie format any projector might play.
And guess who will be sitting up in the royal booth, backed by a fabulous throne alongside the other princesses?
Rarity lightly teased. Twilight blushed. She would be up there, wouldn't she? She'd prefer to sit with her friends. Even if you insist on following the naivety of friendship, do not deny your own superiority over the masses by mingling with them. He was rapidly giving her a migraine. But, putting humongous historical sporting events aside for the moment, they really should be getting a shift on.
Come on, girls,
Twilight said to the others.
I don't want to keep my family waiting too much longer. I'm sure there'll be time to check out the stadium later. You bet,
Rainbow agreed towards the latter point.
I'm a tad surprised that the princess hasn't arranged some transport for us,
Rarity noted, waving a hoof towards the non-existent carriages waiting for them.
You did tell them the time of our arrival, did you not? Only to expect us soon,
Twilight admitted.
They have enough to worry about than chasing after us.
It's not like a walk will kill you, Rarity, Applejack said teasingly. Rarity huffed.
No, I suppose not. At least I'll be able to take in more of the Empire's majesty in the meantime. That's the spirit,
Pinkie declared, almost giving Rarity a noogie before the fashionista warned her off with a glare that implied certain death should she even try. And with that, they set off down the main highway ahead of them. The group of 7 was almost instantly attracting a fair amount of attention from passing ponies, the crystal ponies suddenly coming into contact with not only a princess of Equestria, but also the very people who had helped save them from the tyrant they didn't even know was tagging along. Of course, Spike seemed to be getting most of the jubilant stares. One mare even swooned when he gave her a wink, causing the drake to give a self-indulgent chuckle that made Twilight groan. Maybe she should have smuggled him inside of a blanket. And yet, Twilight couldn't help but ponder. What would they think of them if they knew what they did? If they knew that the stallion they all feared was right there with them? Would they be scared? Angry? Would they feel betrayed? Irrelevant. Not to Twilight. Fortunately, the rest of our friends seemed to be either oblivious to the attention or, like Spike, basking in it. Rarity and Fluttershy were both too busy examining the various shop windows they were passing, discussing amongst themselves particularly in-depth about a boutique run by a young Crystal Pony mare. Rainbow Dash and Pinkie Pie were the showboaters, the former flexing and doing the odd trick while Pinkie just giggled and bounced happily along. Applejack, being Applejack, just focused on the task ahead and ignored the distraction. Twilight giggled at their various reactions, before then looking up at the Crystal Palace as it drew closer. They were soon close enough to spy the guards around the Crystal Heart, said Pony standing aside to let Twilight and her friends through as they approached. And then, Twilight stopped. There was an odd ringing in her ears. A call. A pull towards the Crystal Heart. Yes, it was calling to her, summoning her. It was almost as if it had detected Sombra's presence inside Twilight, and it was offering to free her from him. In all her planning to get rid of him back when this started, she had forgotten that she didn't necessarily need Cadence to use it. Like the elements of harmony, the Crystal Heart had some kind of will of its own. It would help her. Free her. All she had to do was ask it. But Twilight turned away, continuing to follow her friends as they started to rise up and into the palace. As much as they squabbled and disagreed, as much as Sombra maybe deserved it, he was still family, and she still planned to save him. It was a relief for both herself and the King of Shadows when they emerged from the staircase and into the hallways of the palace. For her, because the temptation was now far away, and for him, because he knew his demise was not upon him. Not again. And yet Twilight could feel his dour mood get even worse. He did not enjoy being in the Crystal Empire with the heart still in play. And Twilight could at least somewhat understand the sentiment. It had almost killed him after all. "Welcome, Princess Twilight Sparkle," a Crystal Pony in a smart tuxedo addressed as he approached from down the corridor. "I was informed of your imminent arrival, and I am to direct you to Princess Miyamori Cadenza and Prince Consort's shining armor."
Great! Where are they?
"They are currently occupied in Prince Alma's office," the pony dutifully informed them. "Follow along, Your Highness. I shall take you to them." Twilight gave him a thankful nod as he turned to do just that, the alicorn then motioning to her friends to follow on as she fell into step a short distance behind him. It was only a brief trip through the hallways of the Grand Palace, coming to a stop inside a section that seemed to be home to various guard-related facilities. A barracks, a break room, a mess hall, and of course, Shining Armor's office. "Your brother is inside with the princess," the Crystal Pony informed Twilight. "I've been told to admit you right away."
"Thank you,"
Twilight responded, trotting over to the door and pushing it open without a moment of hesitation. Inside, a neatly laid out and efficiently organized office came into view. That was one trait the siblings shared, at least when it came to Shining's duties as both a prince and a guard. The stallion himself was behind a desk, his horn alight as he levitated some document or another out before him, his eyes intently scanning whatever was written upon those pages. Two guards stood on the opposite end of the desk, both standing briskly to attention as they waited for their prince to finish. And there, looking over his shoulder, Cadence was also reading the report alongside her husband. Then they both noticed the new arrivals.
"Twilight!"
Cadence greeted first as the group entered. She then turned her gaze towards the two guards.
"You may go."
Each saluted, turning and trotting past the arriving seven with only respectful nods before departing and shutting the doors up behind them.
"What was that about?"
Rainbow asked.
"Are those guys in trouble or something?"
"Not really," Shining answered. "They were just delivering a report on our investigation into this dark mage of yours. There's been a few problems." Twilight raised an eyebrow.
"Problems?" We can get to that in a moment.
Cadence cut in.
How are you? I hear things got a bit hectic in Canterlot.
Nothing we couldn't handle, Princess, Applejack claimed. Though hectic might be the wrong word. We couldn't find the varmint.
So now we're here instead,
Pinky chirped. We gathered, Shining replied with a chuckle. Anything else we should know that wasn't in your letter? Twilight briefly considered going down the lines of, by the way, you're the really distant great-grandson of Sombra, congratulations. But she then decided that should probably be left for a more opportune time.
We told you most of it,
Twilight ended up saying.
The Crystal Empire's the only place we could see him going.
Well, you might not have been far off the mark, Shining then said, glancing back at the report.
Oh dear. Has something happened?
Fluttershy questioned. Try multiple things, he stated. For the past few days, ever since the Dark Mage hit the archive, we've had a string of missing ponies reports. Ponies have gone missing? Spike asked. How? Why?
We're not entirely sure as to either,
Cadence explained.
They just vanish. The guard were already starting an investigation when your letter came. It just can't be a coincidence. So you think it's this dreadful Dark Mage that's been taking crystal ponies?
Rarity inquired worriedly. It's what we suspect, if nothing else, Shining Armor confirmed. We've stepped up the investigation. We're practically turning the Empire upside down to try and find either the pony responsible or any of their victims.
And?
Twilight asked. Nothing. Not yet, anyway. Twilight grimaced. That was bad.
Have you looked into Sombra's sanctum? If there was any place they'd go, it would be there. Don't you need Twilight to get in there?
Rainbow Dash pointed out.
Twilight isn't the only one good with magic,
Cadence remarked with a small smirk.
I've taught myself the basic spell since the last time. We didn't want to call Twilight in from Ponyville every time we needed to go down there. It's horrible. I hate it. But we need it, so...
I still think I should have it on Huff, too, Shining said with a frown.
No. 2 of us in the family learning a bit of dark magic is more than enough, thank you.
Oh, she had no idea. So, what do y'all want us to do? Last thing I want is us wandering the Crystal Empire like a blindfolded bull on a rodeo.
I don't think the bulls would appreciate being used for a rodeo,
Pinkie Pie pondered.
But the Applejack does have a point, in her own unique way. We need a plan.
Rarity agreed. We have the location of the most recent victim. They vanished this morning.
This morning?
Twilight blanched.
They're still doing this with all the guards everywhere?
And no pony has seen a thing, Shining confirmed. They're good. But now that you're here, maybe we can put our heads together and find them, eh, kiddo? Twilight puffed up her cheeks indignantly at being called kiddo.
Aside from that, we're going to give the sanctum another look over first thing tomorrow,
Cadence further explained.
We have some things to do here, but I've arranged for a couple of ponies to accompany you to the site. Oh? Who?
Timed almost to perfection, the door opened up behind them. Twilight turned to see 2 figures she immediately recognized. One adorned in full guard armor, while the other wore only his saddlebags filled with various magical tomes and other such books. Ah, Crystal Shield, Shadow Flare, Shining greeted the 2. Good timing. So I see, Crystal Shield said with a smile as he observed Twilight. It's good to see you again. Sombra seemed to cringe as he also recognized the stallion's face from a certain memory.
You too, Crystal Shield,
Twilight responded in a friendly tone.
And you, Shadow Flare.
And so soon, though I'm sorry it's under these circumstances, Shadow Flare said. Terrible business, this. I only came here for some research and now I'm neck deep in this investigation. But if your brother wants my help, who am I to say no? Friends of yours? Spike asked the alicorn.
Oh, girls, Spike, this is Shadow Flare and Crystal Shield,
she introduced them.
I met them during our expedition into Sombra's sanctum. Crystal was one of the guards here before Sombra's reign, and Shadow went to some of the same classes I did, back when we went to Celestia's school.
Which, as I recall, you did not remember. Shadow Flare teased. Twilight blushed.
Well, I do now!
Shining Armor chuckled. Always in a book. But you should have all the time to catch up on the job. As much as I would love to spend time with you, Twilight, I don't think our friend will wait up for us.
Shining is right,
Twilight agreed.
We can talk on the way. Can you take us to the scene?
Crystal Shield nodded. I can. Follow on, Twilight, and especially you, Sir Spike. I feel miles better knowing that you're here. Spike puffed up with pride.
When it comes to saving the day, I certainly do my best.
Twilight rolled her eyes. But, despite the Drake's growing ego, Twilight gave a few parting words to her brother and sister-in-law before following the unicorn and crystal pony out of Shining Armor's office. With them all working together, she was certain that they'd have the Dark Mage in custody in no time.